Imagine that you sit down to play a game, like Monopoly. You start playing and someone says, "Monopoly is old, so I don't like the rules." I say we subsidize building, cancel rent, say the car's a dog, and no one goes to jail. You say, "That sounds like what I saw on the news. I thought we were playing Monopoly, and I don't see how we can have a game without rules." People try to ignore or change the rules, especially if they're losing. And if you don't know the rules, you'll probably get taken advantage of. Worse still, even if someone succeeds in changing the rules, they may regret the outcome. In an old Calvin and Hobbes comic, Calvin and Hobbes play a game where they make up the rules as they go. It's called Calvin Ball. When the rules don't go his way, Calvin says, "That's not fair." In the last frame, he admits, this game lends itself to certain abuses. Rules exist for a reason. And even if we think we can break them to our advantage, we just invite more problems. Politics has rules too. Our rules are the Constitution. These rules govern the gameplay, so to speak, and discourage cheating. They reflect wisdom going back to the very beginning of political life, whether we start at the ancient Near East or with the Greeks and Romans. First, only certain people may hold office. According to Articles 1 and 2 of the Constitution, office holders have to be citizens and have to meet an age requirement. Because not everyone shares the same tradition of liberty and self-government. Until you commit to that, the ideas upon which America was founded, you don't get to wield political authority. This requires citizenship. The age minimum tells us that leadership requires maturity, which inhibits being impetuous or selfish. Second, laws aren't easy to make. At the federal level, at least, laws have to be approved by 2 legislative bodies, each a different composition, representation, and term of office. Courts also play a role in enforcing or even thwarting those laws. In other words, we aren't supposed to be making laws easily, only the ones that are absolutely necessary. Gridlock is therefore a solution, not a problem. Third, taxes should be minimal and equal. The federal government was supposed to live off only 2 sources: a revenue tariff on imports and a tax based on population. In other words, a tax on all incoming goods and a head tax. There was no income tax. That required a constitutional amendment. Taxes, duties, and imposts were to be uniform. There were no progressive taxes, taxes targeting rich people, no regressive taxes, taxes targeting poor people, no taxes targeting young people, old people, savers, investors, workers, or any other particular group. This not only kept the government's power limited, it kept taxes from being used by one group against another. Fourth, federal power is limited to a very small and necessary list of tasks. With the exception of matters of diplomacy, including warfare, there is almost nothing in today's federal budget that can be considered constitutional if compared against the list of 18 items in Article 1, Section 8, which includes boring stuff like roads to carry the mail or granting patents. No free stuff, no crony capitalism. Not only does Congress have a limited set of prescribed powers, it also has proscribed or prohibited powers in Article 1, Section 9, things it may not do. This is explicitly to prevent Congress from assuming power it should not have. Fifth, power works best when it is decentralized. The only limits placed on the states where the founders wanted most power to be are in Article 1, Section 10, and were intended only to maintain unity among the states. For example, creating a free trade zone among the states makes America a federal union of states, not a mob of 300 million people run from Washington, D.C. The founders disagreed about the federal government, but they all agreed that it should only have enough power to do those things that the states could not or should not do for themselves. The significance of the states, especially as a place where different philosophies of government exist side by side, is reflected in the Electoral College and the equality of the state representation in the Senate. America was supposed to be a competitive political system. As James Madison summarized it, ambition must be made to check ambition. We expect people to seek power and be selfish with it, so we limit that power also by relying on our own territorial nature. This applies not only to the states, but to the branches of government. Consider, for example, that the vice presidency, now called the spare tire of government, or not worth a bucket of warm spit, is actually supposed to be occupied by the candidate who comes in second place. This means that the president's electoral rival would again become a rival in the Senate. But this prescription, much like prescriptions for the election of senators by state legislatures, was quickly ignored. In other words, someone broke the rules. And this is how the government got so big. Ignoring Article 5 of the Constitution, we just broke the rules whenever we felt like it. And as Calvin said in the comic strip, this has led to many abuses. So if you don't want to get taken advantage of, read the Constitution and pay attention to the wisdom of those who wrote it. Just like in a game of Monopoly, you might help our republic get out of jail.